From ABC News, this is Turning Point with Diane Sawyer, Forrest Sawyer, and tonight, Barbara Walters.
Tonight, after 13 arrests for driving drunk, after running down a cop, leaving a family without a father, this man could go free again.
Like some drunken energizer bunny. He keeps going and going and going.
Sooner or later, you're going to get back behind that wheel again.
They drink and drive, get caught, convicted, and released, leaving families destroyed.
They call it an accident. Say it was an accident. I don't see how you can call something like this an accident.
Tonight, go inside the justice system. You'll be shocked how easily drunk drivers can end up back on the road.
The man who killed my daughter can never own a gun, but he can still have a car and he can still get a driver's license.
Now, some communities are fighting back, taking extraordinary steps.
Eugene Staniford?
He's been driving under the influence since my husband was 6 years old.
Will he just keep on going, or this time, will the system finally work?
Turning Point, tonight. Driving drunk, licensed to kill.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Walters. 2 out of 5 Americans will be involved in a drunk driving crash in their lifetime. 2 out of 5. And on the eve of this 4th of July weekend, how many families will die at the hands of a drunk driver? A driver with a long record of arrests and convictions. Tonight, you're going to find out how easy it is for a drunk to get away with murder. But since we first broadcast this report in 1994, there are signs that things may be starting to change. In May, a repeat offender who killed 2 college students in North Carolina was charged with first-degree murder, and the prosecutor aggressively sought the death penalty. In the end, the jury decided upon life in prison without parole. Even so, this weekend, thousands of drunk drivers will be out there on the roads, and the rest of us can only hope that fate will keep us out of their way. This man's home is a prison. At random times, computer-generated phone calls summon him to this machine. At each call, he must blow into a tube and have his picture taken. If he refuses, he may go to jail. If the machine detects alcohol, he may go to jail.
Eugene Staniford?
He can't go out his front door without an electronic bracelet signaling his departure to the police.
I just think it's wrong how I'm being kept here.
The state of Texas thinks electronic jail is the least they can do to corral an alleged killer who, they say, uses a 2-ton murder weapon, his car.
You know, if they put a condition on that I not drink and stuff like that, they could come over and check me, and they would never find me drinking.
Eugene Staniford is at the center of a dramatic case that has the state in an uproar. In a country fed up with drunk drivers who drink and drive again, Staniford may be the classic case. This is his 13th arrest for drunk driving in Texas alone. He's been in prison 3 times. This time, they say his driving killed a cop. He may not remember. After all, he was drunk.
You know that there's been times in your life that you've had a drinking problem.
Yes.
Should you be driving?
Not if you're drinking, no.
And how should people be stopped from drinking while they're driving?
I don't really think I want to answer that.
For families ripped apart by drunk driving deaths, he's the ultimate example, the ultimate insult, the lethal driver who drives drunk again and again. Staniford has hired high-profile legal talent, attorney Randy Taylor. He is one part of the system that has always returned Staniford to the streets, and Taylor has no qualms about his defense.
I try every case like it's a murder case. I mean, I hear lawyers all the time on the elevator, well, what are you trying this week? Well, I'm just trying just another DWI. To me, every case, I mean, when somebody comes in here and they pay, I tell them what my fee is. They pay me 100 cents on the dollar. They get 100% effort. And every case to me is the most important case that I got right then. Now, this police report refers to one reference point, and only one reference point.
Eugene Standiford and his lawyers are going over and over the crash scene, laying out the defense, looking for evidence to sway a jury. They're trying to find a weak link in the state's case, trying to once again see that Eugene Standiford is released and free to drive. They focus on a night last December. It was 3 days before Christmas. On this stretch of highway, about 3:30 a.m., Julie Wright's truck was stalled. Patrolman Alan Chick stopped to help, using her jumper cables.
I looked up at him to say thank you, and he just turned his head to the right, and just like right now, just bright lights shone in his face, and he mumbled something under his breath, and I wish I could remember what he said, but he said something under his breath and just slam. I mean, it was just blackness. And then when I flew back, I looked over and he was gone. He wasn't there anymore.
The police officer, Alan Chick, had been struck and thrown. Julie's truck had been sideswiped by a Cadillac.
I thought he was dead because he had blood all around him. And he was curled up in a ball. And he had a big gash on his head. And I ran over to him and I kneeled down and I was saying, hey, hey, hey. And he wasn't answering me. And I took his pulse and I felt something, so I jumped up and I ran to his police car and I was trying to call and I was screaming and screaming and screaming into this radio.
In the chaos, Julie Wright saw Eugene Standiford.
I remember he was walking around his car with a limp, and he had his hands on his hips looking at the front end of his car, what had happened to his car. I didn't understand at the time how somebody could just not be aware of what is, going on, and not come and help me. I mean, I will never get over that. I will never forgive this man for not coming and helping me.
Officer Chick's wife, Lisa, is a neighborhood patrol officer. They have 2 small children. Her phone rang about 5 a.m.
First, I thought Alan had been shot. I mean, that's what you think with being a police officer. You're either going to get the crap beat out of you or you're going to get shot. And I thought this was just going to be one of those things. And then when we were going, I saw the flare pattern on the freeway. And Robin had said Alan had been hit by a car. And, I was just sitting in the seat with my son on my lap. And I was just saying, oh, God, please, just let him, be okay and everything will be fine.
Standiford, an unemployed former Marine, was tested against his will for sobriety. His blood alcohol was 0.15, well above the legal limit. Because of Texas state law, he was booked and released from jail pending his arraignment. 5 days later, Officer Chick was taken off life support and died.
I could have taken it much better if he'd been shot or stabbed or anything like that, because that's what you look at. But, I mean, just for someone to arbitrarily just hit him, it's like a stray animal out in the roadway.
Alan Chick had been a commended Fort Worth police officer for 11 years.
Alan took the kids riding horses. They'd play hide and seek around the house, and I mean, he was daddy. That's the hardest thing. That if I go to bed at night, I just think, well, he's at work, and he'll be home in the morning, and he just doesn't come home. And it comes back to Eugene Standiford and his mentality, his history, his responsibility, and he didn't take any responsibility. He never has taken responsibility. He's been driving under the influence since my husband was 6 years old. I mean, that's how long this man has been out on Texas roadways.
Eugene Standiford, with 15 arrests that we know of for drunk driving, was driving with a perfectly legal license. Critics say society is giving repeat drunk drivers a license to kill. Standiford's first brush with the law was in 1968 in Illinois. He was convicted of reckless driving with open liquor in the car. In the next year, 2 more offenses: speeding, driving on the wrong side of the road. Finally, his license was suspended. It wouldn't be the last time.
I used to go out, and if I went to bars, sometimes I drank too much. But I didn't drink every day. I didn't eat it next day when I woke up. Never been like that. Never been to a place where I had to dry out or anything like that.
He moved to 2 more states, Texas and California. Each time, a new license. States do not always check across their own borders for drunk driving records. By 1976, he was back in Texas with another drunk driving charge. Over the next 8 years, Standiford was back in Dallas courts 8 times. At least 4 times he was caught driving drunk while out on bail for a previous DWI charge. Officer Michael Baggett, who worked with Alan Chick, isn't surprised.
We had several cases where people have been arrested over 10 times. Even if an officer arrests them, a lot of times they're not prosecuted vigorously, or a judge looks at it and says, well, it's not that big a deal, it's just a suspended license, and they just suspend it again, or they fine him a little bit more or something like that.
By state law, they can't take Standiford's license away permanently. He was sent to jail 3 times. He never served more than a year. At one point, court ordered attendance at Alcoholics Anonymous.
I went to AA for a while, and it helped when I was going to it. I stayed off of the alcohol. But AA is voluntary, and you can leave when you want to, you know.
Eugene Standiford has 8 license suspensions, 8 that we know about. Remarkably, states erase drunk driving records periodically. Some states wipe the record clean 3 years after the last conviction.
A lot of times the juries and the judges are real lenient on these things. They look at it and say, well, that could be me, you know. Which one of us has not done that? But, you know, the point is, if you got a person that's doing this multiple times, they've got a problem and they need to be addressed, and the way to address it is to put them in jail.
In 1984, up on his 12th Texas drunk driving charge, Standiford wrote a letter to Judge Jack Hampton. I know I have to pay for my crime, but couldn't I be a taxpayer at the same time? I have quit drinking since getting a job. After almost 2 decades of drunk driving, Standiford got a $500 fine and a 3-year sentence from Judge Hampton.
The state has priorities. The priorities right now are confining violent criminals. Murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, things of that nature. And that's where the big push is.
Standiford served less than a year in jail. This is the history that follows Eugene Standiford down a courtroom hallway. It is the day after Officer Chick's death. He has come to turn himself in on manslaughter charges.
Speak to my lawyer, Randy Taylor.
Randy Taylor is a specialist. Drunk driving cases are usually plea bargained, not for him. Why get a reduced sentence, he feels, when you can be acquitted? With Standiford's trial still months away, we watched a typical Taylor defense.
Do you say that the person on the videotape here's got slurred speech? Somewhat, yes. You call that slurred? By your definition of slurred, what we see on the videotape is slurred, right?
The best that you can hear.
Sir?
The best that you can hear. The audio is not that great.
Well, that ain't his fault, is it?
Taylor usually attacks every aspect of the sobriety testing.
In other words, y'all have got a test figured out where you can give it to a citizen, one test, and say that citizen failed the test, and the citizen's got no way to disagree with it.
Then the fact that the arresting officer got overtime pay.
So you would be making $27 an hour testifying in this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
All Taylor needs in any case is to create reasonable doubt.
All these pictures of Mr. Franklin here came to him. Better than 1,200 of them.
Lawyers like Randy Taylor know how to play to a jury. illustrating that police overtime with $100 bills. Critics say that unless there's an injury, juries in drunk driving cases tend to see a victimless crime. The day we watched, Taylor won again. Another alleged drunk driver acquitted.
If I get a serial murderer off, I don't worry one iota about whether or not that serial murder is going to kill somebody next week or not. That's not a part of my job or my responsibility. I am an advocate. And when I finish talking to a jury and I say, thank you, goodbye, my job's finished.
Randy Taylor wins more than he loses. That's why Eugene Standiford chose him. For Standiford, out on bail, a prisoner in his home, Randy Taylor is the only hope. That and a system that has not stopped him from driving drunk for the last 26 years.
Whose rights are we going to infringe upon? Those who decide to do this? Or are you going to infringe upon our rights to be safe while we're out and about, that we don't get struck or injured by these people you're letting drive, and you're letting them drink and drive?
Even after hitting Officer Chick, Standiford still held a valid Texas driver's license.
If I didn't have a car, I couldn't drive.
And nothing short of taking your car away would have stopped you?
It's something you think about it, and then after you've not been drinking for a while, then you might start drinking a little bit, not driving or nothing, but then sooner or later you're going to get back behind that wheel again, you know. You're going to think that you can drive all right.
Standiford may get that chance. With Randy Taylor's advice, he has pled not guilty to the charges against him.
He had a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage on his breath while he was at the scene being treated by the paramedics.
The courtrooms are where it ends. This is where it begins. Every weekend at hospitals across the country, the stretchers roll in with the victims of drunk driving crashes. We'll show you how some states are fighting back, from the front lines, the emergency rooms, to new get-tough policies on the highways. They're trying to keep drunk drivers out of their cars or scare them sober.
Driving drunk, licensed to kill. Tonight's Turning Point will continue in a moment.
Nobody needs a breath mint like you-know-who. Good thing there's Clorox Automatic Toilet Cleaner with Clorox Bleach. Every flush fights stains and deodorizes. Clorox Automatic. A breath mint for you-know-who.
We did the right thing. We bought the worst house on the best block.
And we fixed it up.
We figured a coat of paint would help everything.
It's Sears' biggest paint sale with the lowest prices of the summer.
Sears has an amazing array of colors to pick from.
Weather Beater, Easy Living, and Dutch Boy Dirt Fighter. Your choice, only $9.99.
I just chose a really nice kind of an off-white with a beige.
Lilac Mist is in the entryway.
Get a fresh look at a fantastic price, only $9.99 a gallon at Sears.
We've always liked this home.
But now we love it.
You want me to give up fluoride for whiter teeth?
Relax. Aquafresh Whitening gives you all the fluoride of Crest, but whitens better with a patented Tri-Clean formula that gently breaks up stains. Aquafresh Whitening, safe to use every day for dazzling whiter teeth.
Incredibly, Matchlight, the dependable one-match charcoal from Kingsford, is ready to cook on in just 15 minutes. So, the sooner you get Matchlight, the sooner you eat.
Introducing Hellmann's fat-free salad dressing.
Now the salad.
Nobody makes homemade dressing like Mom.
Just like I told her. I didn't make it. Hellmann's made the dressing.
No one makes it like Mama.
I didn't make it.
Delicious.
Hellmann's made it.
Here's to Mama.
I didn't make it.
Now Hellmann's adds 4 new fat-free dressings, all with the fresh taste of homemade.
Listen, Hellmann's made the dressing.
You sold your recipe to Hellmann's? We're gonna be rich! We're gonna be rich!
New Hellmann's, the freshest tasting salad dressing you never made.
He smiles, and you know he's lying. He talks, and trouble whispers in your ear. You crave the soft side, fear the danger, and go back for more. Scotty Baldwin in Port Charles, weekdays on ABC Daytime.
Live next Thursday, America's talking about it. It's talking about America, and everybody's laughing. Now, America's hottest new late-night show and America's biggest names are live in primetime.
Oh, my God!
A special edition of Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, next Thursday at 10, 9 Central, live on ABC.
Turning Point, driving drunk, licensed to kill, continues.
One admission by Landy, TA 12 minutes. One admission by Landy, TA 12 minutes.
The left radius starting to swell.
A shock trauma center at a university hospital, midnight, Friday night.
Okay, big guy, hang in there, okay?
He admitted to having 6 or 7 beers.
1/3 of the car accident cases that come here on an average night involve drunk driving.
You don't think I could find out he's drunk? So far, we have a pelvic fracture, flail chest.
Kept alive by technology and a team of trauma doctors, 2 men, both drunk drivers, have become grim statistics. One sped through a stop sign and was hit. He will die. One, a motorcyclist, skidded into a curb and was thrown 75 feet. He will remain in critical condition. Though each driver injured only himself in his crash, they are not the only victims. The staff grapples with morphine dosage, crushed ribs, and internal injuries. A policeman completes his medical assignment, blood alcohol tests for the unconscious drivers. The nation's emergency rooms total up the fierce toll of drunk driving. Almost 18,000 deaths a year, about 300,000 injuries. Here in the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center, they're trying to change the numbers. These young offenders were arrested for drug or alcohol possession and abuse. This is part of their sentence.
Come up to the stretcher for right now.
12 hours ago, this woman was driving drunk with her best friend.
And this morning I found out that she died. My friend died. And I did it. I killed her from drinking and driving. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. And
Baltimore County hopes that seeing firsthand the victims of alcohol and automobile will shock these kids sober.
Once he, gets a little bit better and starts to wake up, it's going to be a long rehab recovery for him.
The motorcyclist, still in critical condition, can measure his pain in milligrams of morphine. But there is no measure to the pain of families devastated by drunk drivers. There is no measure to this man's pain. Critically wounded, recovering in a New York hospital, he struggles to leave the ward for just an hour. John Vaccarello of Brooklyn is going to visit a funeral home to say goodbye to his family, a family that had lived the American dream.
Come on, put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Daddy and his little girl, Conchetta. Come on!
They came to America almost 30 years ago and built a life for themselves with their children. The Vaccarellos, daughters Maria and Conchetta, wife Kathy and father John, had become what they never imagined, a symbol of drunk driving's devastation. They'd been at a family party. They were just walking across the street to get to their car. John Vaccarello had his arms around his daughter and wife. They were in the crosswalk when a Lincoln Continental, headlights off, drove through a red light at 70 miles per hour. In a few horrible seconds, a wife and 2 daughters killed, a family destroyed.
If he come to me with a gun, I can help myself maybe kill me, but not my family. Not with a Continental, 70 miles an hour. I got no chance. I didn't see him. That's what hit me. I can't even help my family. He took them away right in front of me.
John Vaccarello Jr., 13 years old, survived by a twist of fate. Still at the party, he wasn't walking with the rest of the family. He is all that remains of the Vaccarello children.
They call it an accident. Say it was an accident. I don't see how you can call something like this an accident.
What do you call it?
Downright murder, because he may not have, he said that he didn't go out that day with an intention of killing somebody. First, he didn't kill somebody, he killed my family, and there were 3 of them. It meant very much to me.
Ironically, John's sister Conchetta was active in a local chapter of SAD, Students Against Drunk Driving. John took her place at a rally.
I could not believe how this guy could ruin my family. This one guy could destroy their futures. My sisters had a great life ahead of them. One was going to be a doctor, another one a psychologist. And he ruined it. He ruined everything for them.
Abraham Myers, the driver who allegedly killed them, walked away from the crash unharmed. His blood alcohol level was 0.23. That's falling down drunk for most people. How did you feel when you heard that Abraham Meyer had no driver's license?
I don't know how he did it. For 26 years.
Abraham Myers hasn't driven with a valid license since 1967. He's had multiple suspensions, 2 from drunk driving convictions. A New York law makes you a felon after 10 license suspensions. On the night the Vaccarellos were killed, Myers was driving with 26.
I cry my heart out 24 hours a day.
What do you want to say to this man?
When I look in his eyes and tell him.
What?
Did you sleep at night? Did you feel guilty, you son of a bitch? That's what I want to tell him.
Abraham Myers, Grand Jury of Queens County has filed an indictment charging you with murder in the 2nd degree and other related charges. What is the plea at this time?
Not guilty.
Repeat offenders like Myers make headlines and editorials. Sometimes they make history. In 1980, a repeat offender killed this 13-year-old girl and started a movement that changed the way Americans look at drunk driving. This girl was Candy Lightner's daughter, and Candy got mad. The man who killed your then little girl was a repeat offender.
Multiple repeat offender.
Tell me about him. Clarence Bush was his name.
That's correct. When he killed my daughter Carrie on May 3rd of 1980, he was out on bail from another hit-and-run drunk driving crash 2 days before, in which he had hit another woman, and he had had 3 prior drunk driving arrests before that time. Yet when he killed my daughter, he was still driving on a valid California driver's license.
How do you explain that?
Stupidity, ignorance. I mean, I can't tell you how angry I was, and it wasn't until we were able to channel that anger in a positive direction and bring that to public attention that they decided to start changing the laws.
4 days after her daughter died, Candy founded MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
For every precious child, I'm lighting a candle.
With a grassroots campaign of wounded families, she put drunk driving on the national agenda. More than 1,200 laws were passed at the state level, changing the drinking age, stiffening penalties, and raising arrests by 50%. Drivers who thought one for the road was nothing to worry about were on notice. Since then, the news has been basically good because of organizations like MAD, because of public service announcements, and because of the concept of the designated driver. The actual fatalities from drunk driving has fallen 30%. The problem is that half of the drunk driving deaths occur when the person's blood alcohol level is above 0.15, when the driver is very, very drunk. A person my size would have to drink this much alcohol in an hour to have that higher reading. The problem, it seems, is repeat offenders who don't listen to public service announcements, repeat offenders who are still on the road.
1, 2.
They're on the roads in Ohio. That state found 1/3 of their drunk drivers were repeaters. So for the past year, Ohio has tried a new program, nicknamed Swift and Sure. State Trooper John Moore starts his rounds at 11 p.m.
Me working night shifts, top priority is DUI enforcement. A good start is to get the impaired driver off the roadways. And that's one of the strengths of the night shift. That's one of the top things that we watch for. Would you go ahead and stay in the car for me, sir, if you would?
Their goals make drunk drivers know they're being watched.
Place you under arrest for operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol.
And make them unable to drive legally once they've been pulled off the highway. That means taking their license then and there. For most people, that's enough.
Just need you to take a nice deep breath, get a good
The one big factor recently has been the automatic license suspension. And a person's driver's license is a person's freedom to move from home to work, to home to social, to home to vacation. And once you take that, it's not there. They can't do that.
But Colonel Warren Davies knows license suspension won't stop most repeat offenders from driving. That's when Ohio goes into high gear.
If you're a second or third time offender and now you have your vehicle immobilized and it's immobilized in your front yard, you have a trooper come out and put the bar, the club, across your steering wheel for 30, 60, 90 days at the order of a judge. And then after so many violations, then we take the car.
They sell drivable cars, crush the ones that are left. They've begun issuing special license plates to drivers with at least one conviction. Judges can order an interlock device installed, a breathalyzer that will not allow ignition if the driver has been drinking. 2 phone numbers to report suspicious driving get about 400 calls a month from the public. The message, no more loopholes. The goal, no more multiple offenders slipping through the cracks. And the results, while in most states nearly 50% of all highway deaths involve alcohol,
Ohio has one of the lowest averages in the country at 29%. So the laws that we've been able to pass and the enforcement and the public information that we have put out has all aided us in reducing this number of people that are being killed by drunk drivers.
For the first time, catching repeat offenders using suspended licenses is becoming a priority. In New York's Nassau County, just miles from where the Vaccarellos were killed, frustrated court officers got a simple idea. They videotaped their own parking lot. In 1 week, 150 repeat offenders came to check in with their probation officers. 20 were driving, even though they'd had their licenses taken away. Using the video as evidence, probation officer Paul Legrand performs house calls to make sure they're not driving anymore.
Guys out here in suburbia, public transportation is difficult. Driving's so much easier. And if there's a real good chance that nobody's really looking and nobody's really watching them and nobody's really checking up on them, hey, they probably pretty much figure that's a good gamble. If 10 times you've been arrested for driving without a license, how many times in reality have you actually driven without a license?
Perhaps as many times as Eugene Standerford. Experts say that with current enforcement levels, a drunk can drive 3,000 miles without being pulled over.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the neighborhood patrol officer anymore because my husband was killed last night.
In Fort Worth, Officer Chick trades her patrol job for a desk assignment.
Yeah, there's a monster under the water. Okay.
As a single parent, she feels she can't risk walking a beat.
You gonna hit the monster?
Lisa Chick spends her time waiting for Standerford's trial, preparing herself for a life without a husband, for a family without a daddy.
Basically, the hardest thing is that he's not coming home anymore.
So with Jessica has memories. With Jason, I feel those memories will fade.
Oh, you're just a happy boy, aren't you? Right between your...
We have all the photo albums that has been accumulated and to keep and to pass on to a future generation because he is the last young man on that side of the family.
As a police officer and a widow, Lisa Chick wants justice. 1 month ago, she came to a Fort Worth court to face, finally, the man who killed her husband. She hopes for a quick and painless trial. She is not prepared for lawyer Randy Taylor and his last-ditch effort. He claims the state's most damning evidence, the blood test that is the central proof of Standiford's guilt, was contaminated and can't be used.
Turning Point. Driving drunk, licensed to kill, will continue in a moment.
Something has survived. It's the Lost Roll from Kodak. Just buy any Kodak product with the Lost World Jurassic Park symbol. Look for the game piece inside. You could win a Fleetwood RV, a trip to New Zealand, even one of these prizes. And everyone gets savings from Kodak. The Lost Roll is out there. Find it before someone else does.
Oh my, you know why? Feeling frisky all day.
Friskies gives your cat 42 vital nutrients and the famous Friskies taste he loves.
Friskies brings out the frisky in your cat.
Too bad about that tough headache, hon. I guess we're staying home.
Headache's gone. Took some Tylenol. Extra strength.
It's gone? All gone?
Yeah. You're gonna love the ballet, sweetie.
Bring the Tylenol.
That's Tony. He loves pepperoni pizza, but it can give him indigestion. So tonight, he took a Pepcid AC, and look at him now.
Yes!
You can be heartburn-free with Pepcid AC.
Everybody eats from that Pepcid AC.
Just one sniff, and I felt so hard in love with you.
New Floral Fresh Clorox 2 Color Safe Bleach. It's love at first sniff.
Drop everything. Let it go. Get moving to Kmart Summer Fun Sale. It's all here and it's all on sale. Selected ladies swimsuits are just $9.49. Family swimwear is an incredible 40% off. Big thirsty beach towels are a low $3.99. This 34-quart Coleman cooler is only $9.99. And a backyard rectangular pool is Kmart priced at $39.99. Don't miss the Summer Fun Sale at Kmart. Absolutely all you need for summer play. That's the Kmart way.
I didn't understand my girlfriend's, I'm in love. It was a different guy every 3 weeks. I didn't understand that. I know in the long run, I'm going to be much better off.
Respect yourself, protect yourself.
Next time you're at the airport, watch out. Your fellow travelers may be thieves.
Who would think of a man in a three-piece business suit would be ripping off luggage?
Our incredible pictures show how they work. Protect yourself. 2020, Friday on ABC.
Sunday. Oscar winner Angelica Houston, Sam Neill, Kira Sedgwick. From My Best Friend's Wedding, Dermot Mulroney.
We're all a little crazy, aren't we?
From the best-selling novel Family Pictures, ABC Sunday.
Driving drunk, licensed to kill.
When we return, Eugene Standiford goes on trial, and a glimpse inside the mind of a repeat offender.
I had the Listerine, gum, Banaca. I had everything possible to maybe help prevent what turned out to be the inevitable, and that is another arrest.
Turning Point will continue after this from our ABC stations.
Today, I almost forgot my arthritis. I used new Icy Hot Arthritis Therapy Gel. The doctor recommended capsaicin blocked my pain so long I got lost in my activities. And it's odor-free, so there's nothing to remind me that I used it.
New Icy Hot Arthritis Therapy Gel.
My feet are killing me 8 hours a day. Nothing helps.
Introducing Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder. 3 foot relievers in 1. Only Gold Bond absorbs moisture, controls odor with baking soda, and stops foot itch. New Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder.
Finally something that really helps.
I'm Jim Gardner. Philadelphia police announced the arrest of a suspect in Wednesday's fatal shooting of a cab driver in Germantown. Amy Grossberg may have to look for new legal help after a judge's decision today. This man was caught with his pants down. Now he's suing for $12 million. And Welcome America lights up cities on both sides of the Delaware. The holiday weekend word from AccuWeather and more on Action News at 11 o'clock tonight.
Baywatch is on tonight.
Can you think of a better reason to get glasses? Four Eyes, a store for people who can't see, paying a lot for glasses.
The July 4th celebration has begun at Gennardi's with sensational savings Thursday through Sunday on all the things you'll need for the 4th. Like $3.88 for Pepsi Cube packs, limit 2 per customer. And look at this, 77% lean ground beef is only 97 cents a pound. And live 1 to 1 1/4 pound lobsters, just $4.88 a pound. Hurry in for hundreds of spectacular specials Thursday through Sunday at Gennardi's.
Gennardi's, the difference is our family pride.
The first, the best. The Gyrocam on Chopper 6.
Turning Point. Driving drunk, licensed to kill continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
The crash scenes, the emergency rooms, and finally, the courts. You can go to all of these places trying to find an explanation, trying to find out why people like Eugene Standiford drink and drive again. But the only answer lies with the drivers themselves, inside the mind of a repeat offender.
I didn't make the connection of just how bad I was, what a potential killer that I could have been.
This man in Baltimore, Maryland, now admits what most repeat offenders deny.
My mind would tell me I could even drive better with drinks, that I was sharper.
Steve Wilson drank and drove for years and knew every trick in the book.
I did have my driver's license and my registration paper clipped together in a very prominent place in my glove compartment so that I could easily take them out without having to fumble. I had everything. I had Visine to clear my eyes up, Listerine, gum, Binaca. I had everything possible to get the smell off my breath, too.
Steve knows how he got away with it. He worked in a bank. He wore a tie. He called the officers sir.
What I would try to impress on the arresting officer would be that I am a strong member of the community, that I had children. Many times they would see that and say, well, we understand, but we don't want you to drive. I'd say, look, at anything you can do to get me home, I'd appreciate it. And many times they would give me a ride or call a cab for me.
Even after his drunk driving named a man, putting him in a wheelchair, Steve kept driving.
When I was charged with driving while intoxicated, the defense attorneys, even if they couldn't get me off totally, would get the ticket reduced to driving under the influence.
It took 15 years of drinking and driving, 10 arrests, 5 convictions, before Steve faced a judge who stopped him cold. She threatened him with 2 years in prison. Now he's back in court every month, voluntarily, to remind himself of that fear that ended his drunk driving career.
That's a feeling that I never want to forget. When I see that person standing up and walking up in front of the judge, I try to remember, and I do remember, what it felt like when I was doing that. What were you drinking? Beer. How many did you have? 2? Didn't everybody have 2 beers?
Steve now runs a program called Crossroads to help other drunk drivers, other repeat offenders.
Please give me a break and I'll never do it again. You're not going to tell a judge I'm going to do it again.
Steve claims that less than 10% of his program participants drive drunk again. Although every program helps some drivers, study after study shows treatment programs without jail time are no more effective than license suspension. And neither worked for Eugene Standiford.
Mr. Standiford, do you have a comment here? No comments.
Nearly a year after Alan Chick's death, Officer Lisa Chick is ready for Standiford's day in court.
He's basically a miserable person, and he's brought his misery and just transposed it to our family. And basically, if I can, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. I mean, that's my ultimate goal.
I talked to you about the proposition that under Texas law, it is not against the law to drink and drive. It's not against the law to have alcohol in your body and drive and operate a motor vehicle on a public street and highway.
The trial begins as expected. Testimony from witness Julie Wright about Alan Chick's last moments, videotape shot at the scene.
You can even see steam coming off of their breath, can't you? It's cold.
Then Randy Taylor begins his attack on the state's most crucial evidence. He contends that the blood alcohol test, the test that showed that Standiford was drunk that night, was mishandled.
Yes, it did.
The seal on the top, the very top of the vial, did you place that there?
I did.
Okay, so...
He calls an expert who claims that the blood in the vial is either that of a diabetic or was so badly cared for that its alcohol content is meaningless.
The test results could never be relied on because in a case like that, there'd have to be an absolute certainty of contamination to the sample.
In a men's room down the hall, Standiford's blood is drawn to compare it to the vial. Expert testimony lasts a full day. The prosecution attacks the defense expert. Was the alcohol level completely unreliable? All Taylor needs to raise is reasonable doubt in one juror. In the end, he casts this case as a tragic but simple traffic accident.
My client's going uphill and around the corner in the dark, 3:49 in the morning, it's raining.
The prosecutors say it's simple, all right. A simple case of manslaughter.
And those are the brutal facts. And not all the speculation, loud talking, boot stomping, defense experts in the world will change those very facts. This man is guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and now it's time for you to tell him so.
The defendant will rise. The verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant Eugene Lee Standiford guilty of the offense of involuntary manslaughter as charged in the indictment.
This time, the jury had no doubt. But will Eugene Standiford, with at least 10 prior drunk driving convictions, get another slap on the wrist? The prosecution team appeals for the maximum sentence.
You look at me and you tell me now that this was not a deadly weapon. And who knows better than him? Like some drunken Energizer buddy. He keeps going and going and going. He's in the hospital from these records. He keeps driving while intoxicated. He is arrested. He is charged. He is convicted and sentenced again and again and again, and he keeps driving while intoxicated. How much are we going to take?
The jury deliberates for only 2 hours.
The court then sets your punishment by sentencing you to life in the penitentiary. You understand the sentence as I've given it to you. You have the right to appeal this decision by giving notice of appeal within 30 days of today's date. If you're unable to afford an attorney for your appeal, one will be provided for you. Do you understand that?
Hey, Jason. See, look at the camera right in there.
A trial helps heal, but this year's family portrait tells an eloquent story.
Eventually, they'll get to you. Eventually, one at a time. They're taking us out one at a time. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of families that have a family member or loved one killed by a drunk driver. And if we would all just get together, I think we could change so much.
Turning Point, driving drunk, licensed to kill, will continue in a moment.
Full speed ahead. Got it.
Ever notice how some companies stay on course, no matter what the pace?
It helps to have the right crew.
With Sprint, you'll find new ideas and people will work with you one-on-one.
Has the data network cut production time?
Sure, now our designers collaborate online.
How about your suppliers?
Tokyo's online now. We're right on schedule.
Count on your Sprint team to keep your business moving forward.
Gail, you ready for a test drive?
Let's go for it.
We help your business do more business. Call Sprint Business.
A daughter. A daughter. She's going to need all my love. She's going to need lots of hugs and hours of stories and dolls, braces, designer jeans, summer camp,
a second phone, third bathroom, computer, college car, and a huge black tie wedding.
With ice sculptures. Honey?
Why does Visa Gold give you so much purchase power? Because believe us, you're going to need it.
Congratulations, Mr. Miller.
Visa Gold, it's everywhere you want to be.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Hey, Shakespeare, would you write a TV sitcom for a Klondike bar?
Methinks not.
For that chocolatey coated ice cream loaded big and thick, no room for a stick.
Enter precocious punk.
What you talking about, Willie? What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Wherefore art thou new Klondike Choc Burger? Vanilla ice cream, a chocolate cookie, peanuts, and caramel. Get
Anybody home? Sometimes the best reunions happen by chance.
We were hungry.
Now you can always be ready with the best Ziploc storage bag ever. New Ziploc Color Lock bags have the only color seal you can see and feel. So all the love you put in today comes out just as fresh tomorrow.
Great meal, Mom.
You got something I could take this home in?
I think I could find something.
New Ziploc brand Color Lock bags. Ziploc was made for tomorrow.
I remember when the only choice was aspirin. Next came Tylenol, but couldn't always handle all my tough headache pain. And there's Aleve. But if pain comes back once you've taken it, you could be in pain hours before you can take more. No thanks. For me, the best choice is Advil. I can take Advil the way I want to. Nothing is proven to work better or last longer than Advil. Nothing.
And from the makers of Advil, Children's Advil. It lowers fevers faster than Children's Tylenol and lasts almost twice as long. Children's Advil.
ABC Late Night tonight.
On Nightline, 50 years after Roswell, 3 out of 4 Americans believe our government is keeping UFOs secret.
And
should gay marriage be legalized? Should Floyd kiss Scott?
You want a big sloppy kiss? Nightline and Politically Incorrect. ABC Late Night tonight.
Raul Marquez is undefeated in 26 professional bouts. He makes the first defense of his IBF junior middleweight crown against Olympic medalist Romales Ellis. Live Saturday on Wide World.
La alegría de ganar y la agonía de perder.
Next Thursday, from the mouths of America's most dangerous terrorists, what goes on in their minds? Turning Point at a special earlier time, 9/8 Central, next Thursday.
At Room Plus, you can choose from 1,000 bed combos and about 30 colors.
Cut!
Oh, it's that kid again. You mean Dennis? He's why everything you buy at Room Plus is Dennis the Menace proof.
Look at that neat stuff just around the corner, Ralph.
Room Plus celebrates your kids' independence with furniture that's made for them at super sale prices for you.
Come on, Ralph. Let's check out the loft bed.
Don't forget, save big at our July 4th sale. And be safe.
Room Plus, just around the corner.
Driving drunk, licensed to kill. Tonight's Turning Point continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
Attitudes towards drunk driving have changed markedly in the last 2 decades. Alcohol deaths dropped by 40% as public awareness made it socially unacceptable to drink and drive. On top of that, sobriety checkpoints and the increased threat of jail have put muscle into the law. But since we first brought you this story in 1994, drunk driving statistics are inching up again. And some believe that the problem will never go away because nothing seems to make a dent in the behavior of repeat offenders. Angry families want the kind of justice the Chick family received. A repeat drunk driver finally put away for his crimes. But it seems that despite society's good intentions, it isn't until someone is killed or injured that the system is willing to take action. It happens all too often. 17,000 people died at the hands of drunk drivers in 1996. Eugene Standiford remains in prison. He tried to appeal his case without Randy Taylor, but the highest courts in Texas have declined to hear his appeal and affirmed his sentence. Abraham Myers, who killed most of the Vaccarello family, changed his plea to guilty and is serving a sentence of 15 years. Candy Lightner, who founded MAD, isn't with the movement now, but will always live with the memory of her daughter's death.
Same securing order, no bail.
You look at cases like the Chicks and like the Vaccarello family. What's your reaction?
Where are the people who care? What is the system doing? And when are they going to listen?
And they haven't listened yet.
No.
The system, the courts, the judges, the police.
No, they have not.
And what about the man who started Candy Lightner's crusade? The repeat offender that killed her daughter back in 1980? What about Clarence Bush?
The man who killed my daughter can never own a gun, but he can still have a car and he can still get a driver's license.
And he can still drive.
Oh, he can still drive. In fact, when he had his last drunk driving offense, his 7th, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, about a year and a half ago, I believe, it's my understanding he was driving on a valid Wisconsin's driver's license.
Bush lied about his record to get a license. Wisconsin never checked. After his 7th drunk driving arrest, with a death on his record, his sentence? A $500 fine and a suspended license.
Was pronounced dead on arrival at Memorial Hospital. An autopsy will be conducted to determine the exact cause of death. Fortunately, there were no passengers on the bus and no other injuries. This was a very bad day for accused baby killer Amy Grossberg. A Delaware judge threw her chief lawyer off the case. Grossberg emerged from Wilmington Superior Court with attorney Robert Gottlieb. Judge Henry DuPont Ridgely agreed with the prosecution that Gottlieb violated a gag order by discussing the case on the ABC News program 2020. Grossberg burst into tears and fell into the arms of her parents when she heard the decision. Gottlieb says this wasn't necessarily the last word on his role.
The only important person here is Amy. That's what brings us here. That's the only thing that counts. We certainly are going to appeal and do whatever we can do regarding this order.
Grossberg said nothing in court today, but in an affidavit to the court, she said she was terrified at the prospect of losing her attorney 3 months before her trial. 8 people have been arrested in connection with a racial attack last June. In South Philadelphia, Samantha Starnes, an African-American, was all set to move into a house on the all-white 2500 block of Franklin Street. But before she could move in, the house was almost destroyed by vandals. Today, U.S. Attorney Mike Levy announced the arrests of 8 neighbors on charges ranging from civil rights violations to vandalism and perjury. Levy said his investigation was aided by others in the neighborhood who thought the vandalism was terrible and tipped off the law.
Fundamentally, there are an awful lot of decent people out there who aren't going to tolerate this kind of conduct, and today's indictments are a result of that.
Now, 6 individuals were charged with vandalizing the home. 2 neighbors were charged with perjury for allegedly lying about what they saw. Philadelphia police are still questioning one of 2 men in connection with a robbery and shooting at a check cashing agency that worked out of a truck. This was the scene this morning at 15th and Wood, just north of Vine Street. 2 gunmen attacked owner Bill Toland this morning, and Toland was shot in the right shoulder. Some of the stolen cash was dropped nearby, and police then stopped a red car on Grace Ferry Avenue. Inside, they found $20,000 in cash. The 2 occupants of that car were taken into custody. One has since been released, the other still being questioned. Toland is at Allegheny Hahnemann with a gunshot wound and a broken arm. Philadelphia police have recovered 4 custom bicycles stolen during the Core States bike race. The bikes, worth about $6,000 apiece, are now at the 35th Police District. They were stolen from the Coors cycling team last month and recovered tonight from a house on the 4600 block of Reach Street. No one is in custody, but police say an arrest could happen at any time. The July 4th holiday weekend is underway, and that means the exodus has begun to the Jersey Shore. This is the way it looked earlier tonight on the North-South Freeway. Tens of thousands of motorists made for slow going on Route 42, leading to the Atlantic City Expressway and the Black Horse Pike. And this is the reason for the rush: the sun, the sand, and the surf. Action News was in North Wildwood today, where the crowds were already building on the beach, in the water, and on the boardwalk. Merchants say that they expect a banner weekend at the cash register. And this is Atlantic City from Sky 6, a shaky night. It's windy at the shore. It is a favorite pastime, walking the boards on the 4th of July weekend. Maybe some action in the casinos as well. Now, the only question is the AccuWeather forecast. Let's check in with Dave Roberts. David?
Well, Jim, it is pleasantly warm out here.
Barbecue sauces and music from country's Dina Carter. The weekend starts with Good Morning America, tomorrow on ABC.
To order a video cassette or transcript of Turning Point, Driving Drunk, License to Kill, call 1-800-CALL-ABC. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Write to us in New York or email us at tpoint@abc.com.
Turning Point has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.
Boston Market introduces the extra chicken for $1 deal. You just buy any family meal.